Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This is Emma Jones, founder of Enterprise Nation, and welcome to our web chat today with Direct Line for Business, all on the topic of how to choose the right insurance for your business. So welcome, thank you for joining us. The way in which we're going to do the format of today's webinar is I'm going to pose some questions to our guest, who is Jane Guaschi.
Almost right.
Tell me.
Guaschi?
Guaschi, very, very close. Incredible surname. So Jane Guaschi, who is here from Direct Line for Business. We're very delighted to have you here with us, Jane. She is the insurance expert extraordinaire for small businesses. So I will pose some questions to Jane about everything from public liability insurance, professional indemnity, what kind of things small business owners should be considering. But as we go through the webinar, do feel free to put your own questions in the admin panel. So you just literally type the question in and we'll do as much as we can in the next 40 minutes or so to make sure that Jane answers that question. So first of all, Jane, welcome.
Hello.
And I should say, everybody who's listening in, you won't actually see us. You see this lovely slide that's here before you, so you haven't got a technical error. You can hear us, but you can't see us so far today. So Jane, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit first about your role at Direct Line for Business.
Okay, so I'm a business manager. What my role entails is looking after our business insurance products and propositions. So I'm very, very focused on customer needs, what customers need, what they want, and spend quite a lot of time going down and listening to calls in our call centre so we can actually hear live what sorts of things people are asking for, what sort of questions they've got. I speak to our claims team very regularly to understand what sort of claims are coming through and things like that, so that we make sure that we are constantly refining our products to make them work better for our customers who are small businesses.
Lovely. Okay, so we have exactly the right lady in the house today for all of these questions. So Jane, let's kick off. There's always, I think when people are starting a business, insurance is never necessarily kind of the first thing on their mind. I know that you're looking to address that at DLPB, but when do you think a small business owner should start to think about insurance?
I'd say from the start. I know it's that you probably feel like you've got more exciting things to think about, and there's a lot of juggling to be done, particularly when you're at that startup stage. But if you think about it, you know, at that startup stage, you will probably be buying equipment, stock. You might be making your products. You might have invested in qualifications. You might have been spending money on building your brand. All those sorts of things. And you don't know when something unexpected is going to happen. By definition, it's unexpected. It might happen on day one, it might never happen, but the safest thing really is to make sure you've got the insurance in place right from the start.
Best to be protected.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, I think if you have someone's lent you some money and your premises go up in smoke or something, they're not going to be, they'll still want their money back from you, so it's best to make sure that you've kind of put as many precautions, you know, in place as you can.
Absolutely. For those of you who have just logged on, maybe you've come on a couple of minutes past 12:30, just to say I'm here today with Jane Guaschi, and we're answering your questions on all things small business insurance. So if you have any questions, do tap them into the admin panel and we'll make sure that we pose those to Jane. So Jane, what kind of insurance products should small businesses be thinking about at the start?
It really depends. There's no one size fits all insurance, but there's some areas that you should probably be considering and then think whether they're kind of appropriate for your business. So first of all would be things that you might be more familiar with from your home insurance, so buildings. So if you've got home building, if you work from an outbuilding in your home premises, you might have an office, surgery, a workshop. So make sure that you've got that structure insured, and then the contents in it. So think about your business tools and equipment, products that you're making or you're selling, those sorts of things. So they're the kind of probably things that you're familiar with from a home environment. But then moving on to other things like liability insurance, which probably aren't as familiar for some people. So the core of most business insurance policies is public liability insurance, and that covers you if something to do with your business causes an accident or an injury to a member of the public or to a client. So it would cover your kind of legal costs if you had to defend yourself against a claim, and it would cover any compensation and the claimant's legal costs if you were found liable. So it's pretty sort of standard cover that you'd expect to see on a business insurance policy. And then if you've got any employees, so even if it's one employee and they're only temporary, you still need to have employers' liability insurance, which is legally required. So public liability insurance, you don't have to have it, but we'd suggest that it's a good idea. But employers' liability insurance, you have to have it, and if you don't have it, you're breaking the law. The other two areas that you probably might want to consider are business interruption. So let's say you're running a business from home and you've got some expensive equipment you use to run your business, and there's a flood which damages it, and you can't get the equipment replaced for a number of months, and therefore you can't generate any income. It replaces that income that you've lost, you're losing, until you can get your business up and running again. And there's a kind of subset of that which is loss of license. So say you have a business that makes sort of profit from selling alcohol, and you lose your alcohol selling license. It's the same sort of thing, but specifically for that. And the last area is legal expenses. So that would cover you for the expenses involved if you're having employment disputes or property disputes, or maybe somebody owes you some money and they haven't paid it, and you want to sort of take proceedings out against them. So they're the sort of main areas to think about, and then see what fits your business needs. And the other thing that you might want to consider is to say, well, at the beginning when money is tight, you could start with the basics, the stuff that you think, I really need this, and then as time goes on, you can sort of build up and add cover. For our company, for Direct Line for Business, we don't charge any admin fees for making changes to your policy midterm. So if you at some point you want to add some cover, obviously you might have to pay extra for the cover itself, but you wouldn't have to pay an admin fee to put that change in place.
Okay, so it's good to know actually there's flexibility built in. As you say, you can start with one product and maybe just continue to build onto that. And connected to that, so you've beautifully kind of extolled this kind of range of insurance products that small businesses should think about. Back to the beginning when you mentioned about what businesses who are listening in would think about when it comes to kind of home insurance. If many of our members start and grow their business from home, are they covered by a domestic home insurance policy? So the things you mentioned about stock and equipment in the house, does a home insurance policy cover that or not?
You'd have to speak to your own insurer, because it would vary from insurer to insurer. But generally speaking, you'll find that it's the business-related risks aren't covered. So particularly the liability side of things, you wouldn't generally see that on a domestic home insurance policy, and any kind of risks related to like business interruption, if your house was flooded, and things like your business stock and equipment wouldn't generally be covered.
Okay.
But I'd say the first step is to find out what you are covered for, and then work out whether there is a gap to fill.
Perfect. All right. So check first and then kind of see what else you need. And public liability, let's kind of dig down a little bit into kind of each of the main insurance products that you mentioned. So public liability, as you say, is kind of to avoid anyone suing you if they kind of take advice, etc. What kind of companies would sign up for public liability? So what would you be doing as an occupation? So
it's very broad. So it covers you for two main things. So the first thing is injury or sort of illness to people that you are coming into contact with as part of your business. So that's quite broad. It could be somebody coming to your house as part of your business. It could be you visiting their premises and just putting up some equipment for an event and leaving a wire trailing that somebody trips over and hurts themselves. So it's pretty broad. It's anyone that you're interacting with, could even be members of the public in the course of running your business.
And so food, hairdressers, this is all, I guess, again, very direct contact with consumers would need to have a look at this.
Yeah, I mean, hairdressers public liability would cover you for kind of slips and trips and general stuff.
Hairdressers actually called slips and trips.
Slips and trips.
Oh, slips and trips.
Just kind of general those sorts
slips.
of. But anything to do with injury caused by the treatments that you are performing on somebody, you would have to get an extension to your public liability insurance, which would be like hair and beauty treatment liability for the treatments you're performing. to cover you for that specific risk.
Okay.
And then the example you give of food is quite a good one, because we call it public liability insurance, but actually its proper name, if you look in the policy booklet, which I don't know if you're going to, is public and product liability. So it also covers if the products that you provide to people, salespeople, cause some kind of injury to somebody or cause damage to their property. So, if food poisoning being an obvious example of something that would cover. The other element of public liability insurance is damage to third-party property. So it doesn't cover your property. You need to insure your property with your sort of business and contents and stock insurance. But if something you do causes damage to someone else's property, so say you're a mobile hairdresser and you drop bleach on someone's expensive carpet, then it could cover you for things like that. So it's kind of there. It's basically there to cover you for scenarios where something that's done in your business causes some kind of loss or damage or injury to a third party.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
And this takes us back to the point of it's best to be protected, because as the business owner, you can't possibly plan for what those injuries, etc. might be. So just always best to operate with the protection of knowing that you've got the insurance in place. And connected to that, so just to emphasize again, when you mentioned that people who are running a business from home, if they have clients or indeed suppliers visiting them in their house, public liability is something they need to think about, because if any injury happens to the person who's coming in, that protects them in that instance. Lovely. Okay, very nice. And just another thought as you were talking specifically, I guess I always think this around food sellers and suppliers. We've seen a rise recently of street food and kind of pop-up and quite temporary kind of retail. When someone buys insurance, does it tend to be for a 12-month period, or can you get insurance for shorter amounts of time?
For us, we sell insurance on a sort of standard 12-month basis. You can, if you sort of say you had a sort of premise or something like that, then or do a pop-up shop. I know there are people out there that will look at short-term insurance for that, but it's not something that we do at the moment.
Fine. Okay, lovely. And just sticking, Jane, if you don't mind, on public liability, if somebody's selling online and it's just an online business, so they haven't got clients coming to them, they're not going out to anybody else, do they still need public liability?
It probably goes back to what we were talking about, the product element. So if I would imagine it's fairly rare that when you're running a business, you never have anyone visit your premises and you never visit anyone else's premises in the course of your business. But even if that were the case, if what you're doing is selling products, which maybe somebody could choke on, or it might explode or something like that, then the product element of the public liability insurance would be covering you for those sorts of claims from your clients or customers.
And we'll come on later actually to talk about costs, so kind of what kind of cost is a business owner looking at to hopefully make sure they protect themselves. Now when it comes on to employing people, having a lovely team of people, whether they're in your home, in your office, wherever they are, you mentioned employers' liability insurance. So just talk us through that you mentioned that that's relevant even if the company has an employee of one. So would that be the case with limited companies? Of course, you can just have the business owner, but they are employed by the company. So even in that instance, would somebody need employers' liability insurance?
That I don't know off the top of my head, but we can check that and post an update afterwards.
But employers' liability, what does that cover me for? So if you can maybe give us some idea as to what that.
So it's a little bit like public liability, only for your employees, in that it covers any kind of accident or injury that occurs during the course of their business. So, if somebody is your employee is on holiday and they hurt themselves, you're not liable for it. But if they are out running an event for you and something happens to them, they become injured. I was looking nervously over at the team. Then it would cover again the costs of any legal expenses and compensation that if the court decides that you need to pay compensation to them. And the laws say that you have to have a minimum of £5 million cover. So that would be what the sort of minimum standard amount you would see, but some of our products, then you might see 10 million, but 5 million is the minimum you have to have.
Okay, and I was interested before, and I didn't know this, but as you say, you are legally not entitled. You're legally, well, you have to.
You must, yes.
You're legally responsible for having that form of insurance, whereas that doesn't
Yes.
apply to the other forms, which I didn't know. So essentially, every small business owner that's listening in, by law, has to have employers' liability insurance if they have employees.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think the thing to be aware of is even if they're only temporary employees, or even if they work part-time, if they are an employee, then you need to have insurance.
You still need it.
One of the questions we get a lot when I do my call listening, I hear it a lot, which is, so-and-so does this for me. How do I know if they are actually an employee, or are they just a contractor, or are they just doing a piece of work for me? What I would suggest is if you go onto the HMRC website, there is a section where it's actually designed to determine whether somebody's an employee for tax purposes, but it's like a questionnaire, and it asks you lots of things about what they do and how much control you have over what they do and their hours and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I would suggest that might be quite a good place to start, to try and help you work out whether somebody would be deemed to be an employee or not.
No, it's a brilliant idea, because it's a good test, as you say, and for tax purposes, no one wants to be self-employed anymore since the Justice budget, but anyway, that's not the topic of today's webinar. So we've got a question in from Stephen. I'm thinking of running a launch event for my startup. Do I need insurance? Good question.
I would suggest, I mean, I can't advise you on whether you need insurance or not, but generally, when people are running events, they are asked for proof of public liability insurance. So you probably want to check with where the venue or whoever you're running the event with. And if you think about what I've just described in terms of what it covers you for, if you're running an event, you're going to have members of the public or customers or potential clients at premises, and you have a kind of duty of care to make sure that nothing happens to them while they're at your event. So I would think about it.
So Stephen, that sounds like a yes to me. But as you say, it's a good idea also, though, to check with the venue, because we host lots of events, and I know it's one thing that we always check is just to see kind of what the insurance for the venue covers versus our own. So another good tip. A question come in from Jeanette. If I outsource work to freelancers, do I need employers' liability insurance? So I think we've just covered
I think we've answered that one, hopefully, yeah.
But Jeanette, hopefully you were listening in to hear that, yes, whether they're freelancers or otherwise, then it's still important, in fact, legally important, to get employers' liability insurance. Questions are flowing in. Julie asks, you mentioned that some people have 10 million public liability. I think that was employers' liability. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Julie, I think that was employers' liability. Why and what point do businesses have to... Oh, I see. Okay, so employers' liability, you mentioned 10 million. At what point do businesses have to change from 5 to 10 million? That is a good question, actually.
There's no have about it. The government says there's a minimum of 5 million.
Yeah.
Some companies offer only 10 million insurance. Some insurers offer 10 million, some offer 5, and the option to go to 10. So it's really to do with what you feel the risks are in your business to your employees, and whether you feel like you need more or less.
So that's kind of the business owner's decision as to what level.
Yeah,
I think,
there's no, apart from the 5 million minimum, which no insurance company would offer you less than that, because that wouldn't be the legal standard. That it's your choice.
Okay, and one of the things, and Julie, just in response, and I don't know if this was the reason for your question, but one of the things that we see is if small businesses are pitching for contracts, particularly with government, actually, you have to show a certain level of employers' public liability insurance. So I guess sometimes that can influence the level of insurance that a business gets.
Yes, and we do find that quite a lot, that people will come to us mid-term, so they may have started, say, with, I don't know, 1 million public liability insurance, and then partway through they've got a contract with the council or something, and then they said, who have said you need to have at least 5 million, so they then come to us and then we can up their cover for them.
Nice.
Without charging the admin fee.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's important that you've got that flexibility there, so that you can change it as your circumstances require, and the work you're doing changes.
And I love that flexibility. Can you decrease as well as increase?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you can go either way, up or down.
Yeah,
okay, brilliant.
So yeah, I mean, again, if you you just want to have 5 million public liability for the sort of term of the contract you're doing with the council, you can do that, and then when it's finished, you can put it back down again.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all flexible.
Very, very flexible product. I didn't realise insurance was quite so flexible. And I know a question we'd had in before, but again, you've addressed this, was I exhibit at fairs in the summer. Do I need any specific insurance for this? So I think this is probably similar to the question we had in from Steve, which was around, essentially it's up to you, the business owner, to assess the risk, I guess.
Well, I mean, what you'll find is that some people, when they're going to these events, they will be asked for proof of public liability insurance, and that's quite common. And I know we're quite often asked to provide something that specifically says this is the amount of public liability that we confirm that this customer has. So you will probably be told that quite early on when you're kind of registering for your business to be at that event. The other things you might want to think about, which the event organizer probably won't be that bothered about, but you might, is your stock and your equipment, whatever it is you're taking to that event, is it covered away from your premises? Because depending on the insurance product, sometimes it would only be insured at the premises, and you'd need to get specific extra cover to take it away from the premises. So that'd be something just to check on your policy.
Okay, and just something that occurs to me, if maybe the event organizer hasn't mentioned the level of insurance they'd like to see until, say, the day before, if the business owner comes on, how quickly can a business owner kind of buy insurance, and from which point are they protected?
You can buy it, well, from us, you can buy it instantly with kind of instant effect. And our for some of our products, so for our public liability insurance, which is our kind of core product that doesn't have it, but if you haven't got any premises to insure, so say your mobile hairdresser or that sort of thing, you can electronically get to your certificates immediately, so you can see your proof of insurance straight away, and if you want to, you can download it and email it to the event organizer. So yeah, but you would be insured kind of there and then if you say that I want my insurance to start today, you can do that.
Lovely. Okay, good. So it's flexible and fast.
Yeah, and the other thing I should mention actually is just in connection with that is our particular opening hours. So I know small businesses are usually mega busy, just running your business 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So we're open 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening in our call centre. On weekdays, and we're at 9 to 5 on Saturday and 10 till 4 on Sunday. So one of the things we find with our customers is, particularly when people are new to insurance and haven't kind of learnt the ropes, as it were, is that even though they might have done all their research and they might have got a quote and they think they're happy with it, but they sometimes just want to ring up and just get reassurance, and I just want to check this covers this, and does that mean this? And so we're there on hand, and there's a web chat if you're a person that doesn't like talking to people but you prefer to web chat, and they are real people. It's one of the most common questions our web chat team get asked: are you a real person? Yeah, they are real people.
But it's brilliant to kind of have that service available, and I know, and we'll mention this at the end, that there is a particular number that listeners can call to get a guaranteed beat to quote price from Direct Line for Business. So we'll, I'm hoping Jane knows that number, which we will mention it.
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay, well we'll maybe send that to everybody at the end of the webinar, but we'll
do
mention that at the end, because I think it goes through to the same kind of team who can kind of help assess insurance levels, which actually we may also come on to with a question. But just before then, another question in from Dan. I'm sending products to customers abroad through sales on my website. Do I need specific insurance for that, or is it down to the courier to provide? Ooh, good question.
Well, in transit, that will probably be something that you would want, I probably would start with asking the courier what the kind of, is there cover involved, you know, in the price, because sometimes it's kind of an intrinsic part of the price that you pay. There's insurance up to a certain amount, so
Okay.
I would start from there, and then if it's not, then speak to your business insurer and see what they can do in terms of covering the costs of your goods until they reach the other person, covering, you know, in case they get lost or kind of destroyed en route.
Right.
So
Okay.
I would start from
check with them
first, because it might be that you don't need to get extra cover because they're already covered.
Nice. And actually, just around these questions, that lots of the questions are coming in kind of saying, this is what I do, what kind of insurance do I need? Can I call the DL for B line to get that kind of, you know, this is the kind of business I'm running, what's the specific insurance products I need? Can advice be given through that number?
We can't give advice because we don't have a license to give advice. So advice is really termed as, you tell me about your business and I'll tell you very specifically for your business what I think you should have. That's the kind of a rough approximation of how the regulators define it. But what we can do is explain to you the different cover, a bit like I did at the beginning of the talk today, just the general types of cover that are available, and the circumstances in which businesses typically need that sort of cover. And then hopefully that would help you make your own decision, because ultimately it's your decision as to what cover you want. But we can certainly, you know, answer your questions about what it would cover, then, so that you can make that decision with confidence.
Lovely. And I think that's what the business owners need, is kind of ask the questions. You can give information on what's covered and what's not, and then it's, as you say, the business owner at the end of the day makes up their decision. So we've got a question in. Stefano, I hope I pronounced that right. I'm looking to open an office in Europe. Does the insurance or level of insurance differ for different territories? Wow. So Jane, I think that one's put you on the spot a bit, actually.
Well, I think we don't actually cover premises abroad, so we would only insure properties within the UK, though we might cover some activities that are carried out from the UK to customers abroad. So that one is a bit of a, you would probably need to go and research in those countries a bit more.
So check with a local provider, I'm guessing, in the territory.
I mean, generally speaking, in the UK, there's the Association of British Insurers, which gives sort of information about insurance and you know, that sort of thing, and there will be an equivalent in other countries, and maybe with your, if you already speak foreign languages, or with the help of Google Translate, you can work out who to speak to. But there should be like an equivalent that would tell you from the kind of customer perspective what insurance is needed, and any kind of mandatory levels and things like that.
Okay, perfect. And Jane, we spoke before about professional indemnity insurance. So we've spoken a lot about public liability, and that covers you in all eventualities. What is professional indemnity, and who would need it?
So professional indemnity is a type of liability insurance. So it kind of sits a bit alongside the other types of liability insurance we've talked about. But it's for people who are providing services such as advice, design, consultancy, those sorts of things. And it would cover you for claims that come in from people. Say some advice you've given somebody has caused somebody to have financial loss, or sort of design, there's something wrong with the design of something that's caused problems, and people have had to have it rebuilt because of your design was flawed, and those sorts of things. So it's for sort of people that aren't providing a tangible thing as much as a product and brain power, and those sorts of things.
And again, I would have thought that kind of anyone who's starting a business in those areas should get insured sooner rather than later. So, you know, even before they're giving advice, get this kind of cover, so that, because, you know, hopefully it wouldn't, but in the eventuality it happens with one of your first clients, you should be up and running from the start.
And again, you might find that for some professions, that it's one of the things that you have to have. It's not a legal thing as much as a for, you know, the solicitors, authorities might say you have to have this much professional indemnity cover to be allowed to practice. practice law and those sorts of things. I don't know, exact examples, but you might find that that's part of you getting your practicing certificate.
Okay,
you continue to have one.
Which is a good thing. I know when we ran the growth vouchers, our advisor marketplace, for advisors to be accredited to take part in what was a government programme back in 2014, one of the criteria was proof of professional indemnity insurance. And as you say, and I guess, do you feel that if a business owner who's an advisor has professional indemnity insurance, that gives safety to the customer, that when the customer's buying, that they know that the advisor with whom they're working is insured?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives that peace of mind, and it probably also gives an impression that they're professional and they take it seriously. So it's good on both sides.
Yeah, good all round.
Yeah.
Okay. Question in from another Jane. This is not
hello,
you,
Jane.
but another Jane. Thank you for logging in. What insurance is out there to protect loss of customer data? Good question, Jane.
So that would generally be cyber insurance. It's called, I'm sure that everyone used to call everything cyber about 20 years ago, but it still gets called cyber insurance, which again is not something we offer at the moment. But if you kind of Google that, then you would find providers that would help with that, and things like corrupted data from viruses and that sort of thing. It covers quite a broad range of things that the cover would look after. So,
okay, lovely.
Want to do a bit of research on a thing to see exactly what's covered by
search for cyber protection, yes. And it's still called that.
I think some people might come up with something a bit more crazy and modern.
It's still called that in the trade, so you'll definitely find it there. So we've got another question from Stefano. Stefano, hello again. Stefano clearly is moving into the EU, which is good to know in light of Article 50 being triggered this week. I'm glad to see this is still happening. If I'm offering a service or advice to customers in the EU whilst still being based in the UK, do I need a different level of professional indemnity insurance? Do I need to speak to a UK or EU provider? Good question.
I think that is quite a kind of specific question that will be difficult to answer with a general answer. So I would say start by, if you've already got professional indemnity insurance, start by talking to the person that you've got insurance with, and just ask the question and see what they say.
Perfect. Okay, so Stefano, do that, or maybe send us your email address, which I think we'll have, but send it through to us, which maybe with just about 5 minutes to go would be an opportune time for me to give you the number which we've got, which you can call this number. It's a direct line for business number, and you can call, and as Jane mentioned before, you can talk about the kind of business you run. The person on the other end of the phone, who is a human being from Direct Line for Business, can not give advice, but can tell you the kind of things that your occupation is covered by. I think I've probably phrased that sort of well enough. Yeah. So the number to call, and in fact, if you quote Enterprise Nation, you get a quote from Direct Line for Business, which you can't get anywhere else. So this number is 0345 878 5116. So just repeat, 0345 878 5116, and I will mention that again just before we finish. But in our final moments, Jane, just a couple of other questions. The legalities of running a business kind of are fast and furious, that they kind of come to small businesses, increasingly so. Where would businesses go for kind of help with that aspect of business?
We've got some facilities on our policies that could, I think, really help. So first of all, on all of our small business insurance, we've got a legal advice helpline which you can call for free and kind of run by your business insurance issues, and they can give you some advice on how to handle those. The other thing that we've got is not on all of our products, but it's on most of them, is the Direct Line for Business legal document service. And it's got three strands to it. So the first one is law guides, which are specific to the country. So there is one for England, and there is one for Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So we don't just do England. And that is just kind of basically a jargon-free set of guides to different aspects of business law. that would help you know what laws you need to meet. And then we have a set of templates for legal documents, which is quite, it's one of those things you have to actually see because it's quite fabulous to watch. So alongside the law guide, it might say you need to have an employment contract, for instance, and then there will be an employment contract template, and you can go into that and create your own template. So what it does, it starts off with a kind of template on the right hand side with lots of gaps in it, and it asks you some questions, which so you know who's the employment contract for, how much you're going to pay them, how long does it last, what hours they work, all that sort of thing, and it automatically populates the template with all of the specific information. If there's a section that's not relevant, it asks you a question, say, will you be doing this? And say no, it will automatically take it out. So you haven't got that worry of you can get templates that you download and then you copy and paste and mess around with it in Word yourself, and then you lose what was there before. So this is all being done automatically for you. It will also call out things like, say you put in that you're going to pay somebody £500 a year to work like a 35-hour week. It will flag up the fact that you're breaking the law because you're paying below the minimum wage. So it will help you in those sorts of ways. And then once you've created that document, you can save it, you can download it, you can get it signed, do whatever you want. But if you want to, you can also forward it on to a solicitor who, and this is all at no extra cost, this is included in the price of your policy, and you can use it as much as you like. They will review what you've done and just check that they think it's done what you're intending it to do, and if there's any sort of points that they need to raise, they will kind of annotate it and send it back to you. And then once it's kind of finalised, then you will have a final copy.
And this is all included in the cost of the insurance product?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
It is amazing. And it's even better when you actually see it in action, when you actually create a document and see how it works. It's really good.
So as a business, Direct Line for Business takes on the cost of the solicitors, etc., because that's just kind of an additional service for customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we appreciate that for a small business it's very difficult to keep up with all of the laws. It's, as you say, it's very fast moving, and you don't have infinite resources to pay people to keep you up to date with things. So to have access to the law guides that kind of cover all the important stuff that you need to know, and to help you stay on the right side of the law and have the right sort of documents in place that you need is something we want to encourage and sort of support.
So we should have direct enterprise nation members, which is why I was looking at our membership community manager at that point. Okay, and I do want to come on to costs actually, but let's just have time for one final quick question. Question in from Liz, if you keep equipment in more than one place, good question. If you keep equipment in more than one place, will one policy cover them all?
I think that was a bit of a it depends question as to where you keep it. If it's on your, so say you keep some stuff in your house and some in your outbuilding or something like that is still on the same premises, then the answer might be different to I keep some in my house and I keep some in storage, self-storage somewhere else. So again, it is a bit of a it depends question. I hate to say this, but there isn't really a one-size-fits-all answer, and it's best to ask the question of your current insurer.
And in fact, just on that, you just made me think actually with self-storage. So there's been the rise of these where businesses can kind of store. In fact, quite a few businesses are working from self-storage units. Should you always check with the self-storage provider as to whether they are insured or whether you, as you say, kind of get additional insurance for your own content?
I think that would be wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just onto this kind of point around sort of each case is quite different. Can you give any indication for everyone who's kind of listening, and hopefully that's kind of lots of questions that we've kind of answered for you there. Can you give an indication as to the kind of costs that small businesses should be kind of budgeting for? So say, if you want a basic, I run my business from home business insurance package through to, as you say, 5 million in employer's liability, what kind of costs are the businesses looking at?
I mean, it is a bit of a piece of string question, but on our home business product, our prices start from £55 a year. some people was kind of expecting it to be that much a month, but it's for a year. And about half of our customers who have a home business insurance policy pay that, so it's not some unattainable thing that only one person gets. And in our first year as well, we have, if you want to spread the cost across 12 months, we have 0% APR in the first year. At that time when you know, probably your cost of your money is very tight.
And is that available on the home business product?
Yes,
so
yeah, it's available on all of our products.
Okay, excellent.
So yeah, if you wanted to spread that cost, you could, and it would be a few pounds a month.
£5 a month, yeah. And then, as you say, kind of it just increases depending on kind of the insurance. We spoke before about the flexibility of adding insurance on. Could it be that a small business owner says, I'll start with the basic home business insurance package, and then they can add on from there?
They can add on during the year. And you might find things like that. You might need to add on employer's liability when you take an employee on, or you might start with a very low level of business interruption cover. Because you know it's there to replace lost income. So when your business is small and just starting up, then you haven't got a high amount of income, but then you might find in a year's time that your income is larger, and therefore you've got a larger amount to lose that you need to protect.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's I think that flexibility is important.
Yeah.
But the kind of other side of that is to make sure that you do regularly review your insurance, because you don't want to be in a situation where you haven't looked at your business interruption cover for 5 years and suddenly find that when you come to make a claim you've only got, you know, £20,000 worth of cover and you actually need
lots more. It's a good point, actually.
£500,000 or something.
Would you, I was going to say, would you advise? You're not allowed to advise. How often would you recommend small businesses do kind of revisit and review their insurance?
I mean, I suppose when you're making a change to your business, it would probably be a good. So if you moved premises, that there'd be sort of trigger points taking on employees. But other than that, probably every 3 to 6 months, something like that, just to make sure that you're sort of keeping up to date.
Absolutely, and well covered. And so I'm going to, as a final thing, I will read out the guaranteed beat quote number again, but just tell our businesses where they can go online, I guess, to find out all the information that you've given, but also to kind of actually say, right, I'm kind of ready for insurance, and how do I go about?
Okay. So the website is directlineforbusiness.co.uk, and then on there, what you will find is there are a list of products. So there's a home business product, there's public liability if you don't have any premises, and there's shops, offices, surgeries, B&Bs, hotels. So there's a number of products. So you can look at that and see which one you think matches your business most closely. There's also so on each page then there'll be information about what each product covers and any particular limits that you can flex and those sorts of things. And then there's also the Knowledge Centre, which is a sort of hub of information. So, for instance, there are articles on there all of that specifically talk in more detail about public liability insurance. There's all sorts of things about different aspects of running business and starting one up. So it's not all about insurance. There are other aspects that hopefully kind of dovetail nicely with the sorts of things that you do at Enterprise Nation. So it's well worth spending some time digging around there. And then we have quite a few sort of case studies of small businesses and tips and things from them as well. So it's good. Well, and it's all free. You don't even have to be a customer to view it.
Yeah. So, lovely. I love the idea of these solicitors and these legal documents. That's what I'm going to go and have a play and have a look at. Well, Jane, you have been absolutely superb today because that is 45 minutes of insurance knowledge, which has gone very quick. But thanks for kind of sharing that knowledge, for responding to our questions. Thank you to everybody who posed a question. Stefano, send us your details so we can kind of come back to you on your European adventures and endeavours. And as I say, just as a final thing, the number to call, as the clock strikes 1:15, the number to call for Direct Line for Business, guaranteed future quote Enterprise Nation when you call, and the number is 0345 878 5116. I can't help feeling that's like a radio advert. 0345 878 5116. Jane, huge thanks for joining us today. Thank you to everybody who listened in. That was how to choose the right insurance for your business. We'll make sure that this webinar is available on the website so you can come back, replay at any time. if you've got questions. But in the meantime, Jane, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.